Hi guys, it's Miss Mills again. I wanted to read this note from Louisa Jagger, who is the author of Sprouting Wings. And I thought it was really interesting because she references how she and Pat Smith researched the information to write the book of Sprouting Wings. And she even references and talks about primary sources, which is what we've talked about, like how primary sources are really also first-hand accounts of like people who were actually there. So she was able to find some of those, and she talks about it here in this note. And I wanted to make sure that we included that um, for this week's readings as well. So here we go. A note from Louisa Jagger. Around the time researcher Pat Smith stumbled upon a small newspaper article written about James Herman Banning's transcontinental flight, I welcomed my first grandson, Dylan, into the world. Dylan is African American, and Banning's incredible story is a story I wanted him to know. Yet there was very little information available. The more Pat and I learned, the more fascinated we became. We spent 7 years digging up every scrap of information we could. We sought primary sources that detailed Banning's life, like journals, newspaper articles, first person interviews, oral histories, records, and documents. We began our search by interviewing Banning's great nephew, Philip Hart, who shared photographs and stories about the family. Pat, who lived in Oklahoma, then went searching through museum attics. At the bottom of a beaten up cardboard box, she discovered Thomas Cox Allen's original unpublished manuscript detailing the flight. She couldn't believe what she found. Not only did Allen describe the flight, but he also wrote down the name of every person who'd signed the gold book, what they donated, and what state they were from. We shared our exciting research with Lonnie Bunch, the director of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. We read William Powell's memoir, Black Aviator, in which Powell talked about Banning and Allen in detail. Though mainstream papers did not cover Banning and Allen's heroic flight, over 200 African American newspapers reported on their great adventure, including Banning's own account in a series of articles published by the Pittsburgh Courier. We found the articles through sources such as ProQuest on the internet and on the microfiche in public libraries, in the Library of Congress, and in universities. We are still discovering more. These primary documents allowed me to find quotes from Banning and Allen, and these direct quotes are sprinkled throughout this book. It is a great tragedy that prejudice ultimately cost Banning his life. He was scheduled to fly a number of stunts in an AirTech air show in San Diego, but the chief flight instructor, Arnett Spear, refused to allow Banning to fly in one of his planes. An unlicensed white naval mechanic, Albert Burghardt, offered Banning the use of Burghardt's friend's plane. The catch? Burghardt wanted to perform a stunt at the air show and wanted Banning to fly with him. Banning agreed to go as his passenger. The mechanic attempted a loop but stalled the plane, and the plane spun to the ground in front of 2,000 horrified spectators. Banning died that day, February 5th, 1933. And so then this is showing all of where she got this, all the different quotes and quotations, and it tells you like the primary sources that she got them from. So one day I'm gonna build a kite big enough to ride on. Um, got that from the New Journal and Guide. So these are where authors cite where they get the information. So, like in nonfiction books, they will cite where they've researched it from, and that's what good readers do, and good authors do that. In fact, you have to do that. Otherwise, it's kind of like against the law. because then that means you're stealing information or you're trying to claim it as your own information. So what she did was she cataloged and showed all of what she had researched and where she got each of the documents from and each of the information pieces of information from, which I think is really interesting as well. So even though it's kind of written as a picture book, it is written on facts and it is considered nonfiction. And there's a picture of his, not really a picture, but a drawing of the plane itself with all the signatures. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It certainly was interesting to me. Here are some pictures of the authors. This is Louisa Jagger. Here's Sherry Becker, and here's Floyd Cooper.